guys, let me show like some MCP discover what I did this weekend. So it's interesting here. So let's cursor. Yeah. So basically, first of all, let me run the MCP uh, just from the cursor. So I have this integration with Gen AI support plugin I found on GitHub, and I want to send a request create blueprint. So just doing this. And here log. I will have like some information about my client connection through the TCP socket. So we have TCP sockets here, and it's actually it's created blueprint, which is good. No problem, simple task. Right. So let me do something differently. So right now, what I have here, I have my client. You can see like in a content Python MCP client, I have this MCP client Python. I almost fully generated this with Anthropic model to make it faster. But anyway, like like I check this code, it's kind of functional. Let me try to run this guy. So it has some menu, which is again like generated by AI, but it's fine. So what I want to do, like let me create a blueprint. Right, so I do blueprint, create a blueprint, and I do BP vector, enter, and send a request to Cloud API, and uh, return back create a blueprint. Right, so like I have this in Control browser, really the same stuff basically. So how the system works? Basically, the two important things here, which is server side. So this comes from server, uh, and inside the Python code, it creates a new TCP server. And what I do here, I do tools, execute Python script, and just start this. This way automation, like it can start automatically. But anyway, like it just start this Python server, and I start Unreal Engine and have deep integration with Unreal Engine. This server not talking to LM directly. It doesn't talk to LM like like in any way. Basically, what we're doing, it's uh, kind of describe all the available tools and format how they should be called. Like for example, spawn blueprint actor, right? And the spawn blueprint actor, and then today, if we go inside this function, uh, for example, we have handler blueprint command, and for example, create blueprint, and then today, what it's doing, it's referred to Unreal Engine get blueprint utils and create blueprint. The create blueprint is C++ function defined inside Unreal Engine. So what the MCP server is when you expose a bunch of C++ function into the Python in this case, but it doesn't have to be Python, but it's easier just in Python. And you kind of like define how the function should work inside the Python. Again, like you just have these definitions all functions, so LM models know, but doesn't directly talk to LM. So the concept here is this guy talks to the client, right? So it's up to the client. And client does, in my particular example, it does talk to LM somewhere. Let me find. Let's see, I'm to. Yeah, for example, this is cloud, or so it's via API, and then today it's an Anthropic message create, and it's sending, and that is receiving a response. And when it's sending a series through response has to be sent to the server. So the client, my Python client, talks to LM, and the server responsible for define the tools, functions. So if I go here, it's kind of like define the tools. So and definition of this function, and then to the day, like like I use these tools to tell Sonnet Anthropic model what I have, like, like what kind of functionality I have and what kind of like requests and lamps would I have. That's it. Uh, if I try to show here, so basically uh, this part is MCP client talk to LM, and then after the response from LM, it talk to the server, and server, and then they calls blueprint function, packaging, whatever. So this is passed here, right? Uh, that's about all. So I have this tiny client, and instead of using like like I can use Anthropic directly, but the idea is here why I implement this is because I want to show how that can be used in our chat. So our chat can talk to our backend API. Backend API can have like like some MCP client. MCP client can talk to LAMP, respond to the server, and then they it can go to engine management. So this is the idea. My main takeaway about MCP, and it's kind of like cool described here actually. It's when you're using like sequence of actions for labs. When you have like multiple actions. So you have this text, natural text, uh, text input from the human, like like native text input, right? So you have this text input, and then the line can figure out actions based on the tools. So like like I describe this in text, and this text can be interpreted by LLM predictions, of course, and pull some specific tools from Unreal Engine, from other software now, it's like from Unreal Engine in some particular sequence. And how LMs know about that? Because we did this definition, right? So like like in our MCP server, we did this definition, right? And then if there's like many actions which should be taken in a sequence, this is really good use case for LM. Like, but again, like more action you taken, the higher chance for the error. So if you take like three action, okay, fine, five, maybe fine, 10, it might be some errors. Like like it's definitely like the problem with ramps here, like like many sequence. But what is cool, it can convert this text into sequence of action, and by MCP definition, it's knows which tools from Unreal Engine it can be called. So you can export many functions from Unreal Engine and then type in something in chat, and it can create like like 5 action, 10 action, like compile, package, deploy, whatever you export from Unreal Engine C++ API, which is really good. Uh, I have this here in our Unreal Engine, sorry, GTech GitHub. I have this content Python and client. So this is a client functionality just right here. There's some README. I'm not sure the correct not, like I'll change a little bit. But it's working, right? So this working is good. You can try, you can adjust this one. And my idea was, what if you do something like that? And it's Josh and Lucas is for you guys. I'm not like professional here, obviously, but I can imagine. It's like my imagination, but we feel free to change. So we have Unreal Engine slices for the UI, and this is our guy. This is UI. This talk to directly to our API server. This is for the API server. This guy talks to MCP client. MCP client. This is our MCP client, right? And MCP client talks to LM. And then what happens? LMs give response to MCP client and let's talk to MCP server. And then MCP server might live somewhere in our server infrastructure, so try to offload from the client. And then it talks to the server, just general server, and this general server can host like different models, what we have semantic and so on. And this responds back to Unreal Engine handlers. Those handlers already like call the final function for the package project, so that could be like quite tight here. And here we have already like really final functionality like sent to Unreal. So it has this like only this part like handlers, for example, create repeat, and this is what happens here. But server direct like which handler should be called basically, and that could be like either in Python or C++ because this response is HTTP response more likely. So yeah, that is about all. If you have any questions, please let me know. It was fun discovery.